Bears fans, the ultimate defensive dream is officially dead in the water, and we need to talk about the brutal reality of it right now. Max Crosby just shattered our hopes with a massive social media announcement confirming he is absolutely staying in Las Vegas. The blockbuster trade we were all praying for is completely off the table, forcing Chicago into an immediate, desperate pivot. Before we dive into the fallout, hit that like button, share this video with your fellow devastated fans, and subscribe so you never miss a massive update. Did anyone actually believe the Raiders were going to let the heart and soul of their franchise walk away without a fight? Well, here we are. It is genuinely bittersweet, maybe even heavily leaning toward bitter for most of us watching this unfold. We all held our breath over the last week. We all bought into the unbelievable hype. When the rumors first swirled that Max was verbally traded to Baltimore, we thought there was a genuine, realistic window. We truly believed Chicago could swoop in, hijack the deal at the 11th hour, and bring an absolute monster of a pass rusher to the Windy City. Because let us be brutally honest with each other, this roster is in pure win-now mode. Adding a game-wrecking, generational edge rusher was the ultimate missing piece to a championship puzzle. We could all see the vision. We could all picture him wearing navy and orange, hunting quarterbacks on Sunday afternoons. But that beautiful hope came crashing down today. Max took to social media and dropped the absolute hammer on the situation. He posted, and I quote, "Everything happens for a reason. Believe nothing you hear and half of what you see. I am a Raider, I am back." End quote. That is not just a passing comment, or a vague cryptic message. That is a definitive, cement-in-the-ground statement. He had a massive realization. Maybe he sat down with Mark Davis and hashed everything out. Maybe Tom Brady got in his ear and sold him on a grand vision for the future. Maybe the front office and the coaching staff promised him the absolute world to keep him from forcing his way out. Whatever magical conversation happened behind those closed doors in Vegas, they managed to mend the fences. They talked their superstar off the ledge. So, for those of us passionately hoping General Manager Ryan Poles was going to pull off the ultimate heist of the century, we have to wake up and face reality. The book is completely closed on this trade for the foreseeable future. And you know what? If Chicago was absolutely, hopelessly desperate to get him, if it was an all-or-nothing, do-or-die scenario for this front office, they would have thrown multiple first-round draft picks on the table on day one. They would have vastly outbid whatever Baltimore was dangling out there. But they did not do that. They stayed incredibly disciplined. They refused to completely mortgage their future for one player, no matter how spectacular that player happens to be. I actually have to respect the restraint, even if it hurts my soul right now as a fan who just wants to see opposing quarterbacks terrified. Let us take a step back and look at the Las Vegas side of this equation, because my mind is completely blown by their logic. Personally, and I know many of you watching agree with this, I think keeping him is a massive, franchise-altering mistake for the Raiders. They need a total, down-to-the-studs rebuild. They are not one piece away. They are a couple of long years away from even sniffing serious, sustained contention. Instead of leveraging their absolute best asset for a massive haul of premium draft capital to restart their franchise, they are aggressively clinging to the past. It genuinely feels like they are leaning into this Disney-style fairy tale narrative that he is just meant to be a Raider forever. And that is a beautiful, romantic sentiment, but sentiment does not win Lombardi trophies. If we are looking back in 5 years, there is a very real, incredibly tragic chance that one of the fiercest defensive players of this generation will have completely wasted his prime years on a struggling, directionless team. But hey, that is their bed to make and they have to sleep in it. They spent some significant cash in free agency recently. If their new additions hit the ground running, maybe they win a few more games than expected and shock the league. But deep down, we know the history of that franchise. At the absolute very least, the silver lining for us in Chicago is that this nightmare of an edge rusher is staying over in the AFC. He is not joining a direct division rival. He is not going to terrorize our offensive line twice a year. If he is genuinely happy being the lone star in the desert, good for him. It was probably agonizing for him to even consider leaving in the first place, seeing as he views these recent events as some kind of divine sign to stay put. So, what on earth happens now? This is the million-dollar question keeping us all awake at night. The front office has made some incredibly savvy, highly calculated moves so far. Securing Devin Bush was incredibly smart. Grabbing Kobe Bryant adds crucial depth to the secondary. Bringing in Jedrick Wills and getting Braxton Jones back on a totally reasonable contract shows exactly how surgical and brilliant Ryan Poles is being. He is not out here throwing reckless, desperate money into the wind like some other general managers. Look around the league right now. The contracts being handed out are absolutely astronomical. Sean Robinson just grabbed $10 million. Bradley Chubb secured $14.5 million per year. And honestly, the Chubb deal is not entirely egregious. I would have strongly considered taking that exact swing. But the 3-year commitment was terrifying given the injury history. If it was a 2-year deal with heavy upfront guarantees, sure, sign me up. But tying up future cap space is a dangerous game. So I completely understand why our front office passed on those massive, bloated, long-term deals. Question of the day. With Max Crosby officially off the table, who is your absolute dream target for the Bears' edge rusher spot right now? Drop your passionate answers in the comments below because I really want to see where your head is at. Because let us be explicitly clear, the pass rush is still a glaring, flashing red light of a problem. They added Neville Gallimore to the defensive tackle rotation. Kentavious Street is in the building fighting for a spot. But neither of those guys are moving the needle. Neither of them are striking pure fear into opposing offensive coordinators. The first major wave of free agency is officially in the rearview mirror. The elite, high-impact superstars are entirely gone. Jonathan Greenard got severely paid by the Vikings, and let us be real, Minnesota was never going to trade him inside the division to us anyway, not unless we surrendered a first-round pick, which would be absolute insanity. We have to scour the secondary veteran market immediately. There are still massive names lingering out there who can make an immediate, violent impact on this defense. Joey Bosa is still floating in the wind waiting for the right call. Jadeveon Clowney remains an absolute force against the run, and can still create immense pressure when motivated. What about Cameron Jordan? Sure, he is heavily tied to Dennis Allen and getting older by the minute, but you cannot deny his unbelievable leadership and raw power on a limited, rotational snap count. Calais Campbell is the exact same story. You put him inside, you put him outside, you closely monitor his reps, and he will absolutely wreck a crucial third down play when you need it most. And let us not forget Al-Quadin Muhammad. Yes, the previous stint under Matt Eberflus did not pan out the way anyone wanted. But we are looking at a fundamentally different scheme, a heavily shifted culture, and a player who recently hit double-digit sacks in Detroit. A 1-year, prove-it deal for a hungry, angry veteran feels absolutely mandatory at this point to establish a stable rotation before training camp begins. But the ultimate, long-term salvation for this defense lies precisely a month and a half away. We are closing in rapidly on the NFL draft, and we desperately need to talk about the absolute goldmine of defensive line talent waiting for us. Ryan Poles stood at the scouting combine and flat out told the entire world how incredibly deep this edge rusher class is. And he is absolutely not wrong. Are we going to land the absolute top tier, untouchable freaks like Reuben Bain Jr. or David Bailey? Probably not, unless a miracle happens. But the next tier is absolutely loaded with game changers. Think about the sheer possibilities. Are they falling in love with the raw, unteachable power of Keldrick Falk? Are they mesmerized by the unbelievable bend and agility of T.J. Parker? Could Akeem Nasitter be the perfect, versatile fit for this defensive philosophy? Maybe they slightly overlook Cassius Howell due to his shorter arms, but his pure closing speed is entirely undeniable. Zion Young is sitting right there waiting for his name to be called. And it is not just the edge rushers. This interior defensive line class is an absolute monster from top to bottom. Do you pull the trigger immediately on a game-wrecking tackle like Peter Woods or Caleb Banks if they miraculously slip to pick 25? Or do you hoard those second-round picks to build a fortress? What about absolute physical maulers like Lee Hunter, Kristen Miller, or Caden McDonald? The options are endlessly exciting. We are talking about distinctly different buckets of talent here. You have your premium, blue-chip round 1 stars, but Chicago holds 2 absolutely massive second-round picks. That is exactly where the absolute magic happens in the draft. That is exactly where you find the undeniable, franchise-altering gems. Guys like Danny Dennis Sutton out of Penn State. Derek Moore. Our Mason Thomas could easily slide right into that specific range and provide instant, electrifying juice off the edge from day one. If they want a pure, unmovable run-stuffing wall in the middle of the defense, Dante Corleone or Dominique Orange could be the perfect answer in the second or third round. The bottom line is crystal clear for everyone watching. This defensive line needs an immediate, aggressive injection of fresh, violent talent. We are desperately waiting to see if Austin Booker takes a massive developmental leap this offseason. We are eagerly waiting to see what Shamar Turner or a highly motivated Deo Odiingbo can bring to the absolute trenches. But hope is not a viable strategy in the National Football League. Over the next 6 crucial weeks, through the grueling pro days and the highly secretive top 30 visits, the front office is going to build their final, master battle plan. An addition is definitely coming. Maybe it is a heavily calculated late-wave free agent signing. Maybe it is a shocking, blockbuster draft day trade that none of us see coming. Or maybe they simply trust their elite scouting department and build a terrifying defensive front entirely organically through the draft. But the Max Crosby fantasy is completely over. It was a thrilling, maddening, exhausting emotional ride while it lasted, but it is officially time to wake up and face reality. The path to a championship just got a little bit harder, but it is far from impossible. This team is building something genuinely special right before our eyes, and one missed trade opportunity is absolutely not going to derail the entire mission. Keep your heads up, stay incredibly loud, and let us get ready for the draft.